So I almost got it right. It did gap down to the 61.8. Look at that right there, gapping down. Pre-market, sold off in the pre-market, gapped down right at 61.8. So the preparation I had was if it gapped it down 61.8 right here, there was going to be some initial strength and sell off. Well, yeah, the initial strength was correct, except there was no sell off, and that cost me a little bit of money, actually quite a bit, and I didn't like that. And they do that on purpose because the other scenario I had was that it would have gone up and essentially keep going up had it not gapped down had the gap not gapped down that much, because I mean that's just a head fake. I mean today's really more or less like option expiration. It's like option expiration on Thursday, because this is a head fake or a essentially when I saw it so weak, it kind of again it just mind seeded me, brainwashed me into thinking it was gonna be pretty much a weekday. Although I did see that they were catching it, the manipulation candles, I did see they were catching it, and I was timing. Essentially, I was timing the reversal, and I hit the target at 3,000. Well, they just went right above 3,000, and that cost me, right? I think one of these guys, right? No, this guy right here cost me almost 1,400. Selling, yeah, selling the calls. So it cost me, so yeah, it cost me, selling the calls here, expecting reversal, 1,400. That was the big one I took, along with the 1,500. And, yeah, they just quickly wrote this up, and I kind of profit on that. The only thing that got to me was this reversal, and I was timing VWAP as the um the back trace, and the support on VWAP to continue up. Well, they moved it all the way down. And if you look at it on this side, you can see that they had support on Apple on the VWAP. So if you look at Apple on the VWAP, it was a support right there. But on the QQQ and Amazon, they penetrated VWAP. So had I looked carefully at Apple, I would have waited a little bit for this guy to penetrate. Um, so yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, and that pretty much stopped me out for this big hit right here, 1,500. So I think if I watched Apple, I would have seen a little closer signal to wait. Um, but that's just more or less unfortunate that there wasn't support on VWAP, and that's just the way it is when manipulation days, where sometimes there's just no support like there should be, and I should have just waited. Um, anyway, as far as the technical analysis, today was actually it went all the way up today. Look at that. I mean, at this point, it's just, I mean, this is the other one where I hate playing in the afternoon because of it. So at this point, you just don't, because of this wicked downturn here, you don't know at any point you can say this is a line where it's failing support, or and then they break through on it. So at this point, you're very bullish because it's all the way up here. Um, so there's no way you're gonna play the puts, meaning buy the puts, because you're thinking it's gonna be a positive day. Well, guess what? They moved it all the way down and moved it below VWAP all the way. I mean, it's just hard to play in the afternoon because here, let me get rid of the extended hours, because that's yeah. So, I mean, it goes below VWAP here, and it just stops you out because you're just afraid. I mean, it's like, geez, it's, at this, it's just hard to play the afternoon. And then it moves it all the way up, and then it crashed all the way down, and it's just very difficult to play the afternoon. So, I don't know if I'm gonna play the afternoon anymore. To be honest, I keep telling myself not to play the afternoon, but I lose another 600. So if I hadn't lost this, I probably would have been up pretty good, close to 5,000 for the day. So the technique of watching the manipulation candles is actually pretty good because you can actually see the manipulation, especially in the morning. You can see that they caught it, and you can see this run up. So for tomorrow, I'm expecting somewhat more or less the same, except it's gonna be whatever the gap is. It's probably gonna be the opposite, and that's just the way to play. Because you can see that they kind of head fake you every time. Um, so you see how they had strength, and then they just bring it all the way down. Here they have weakness, and they bring it all the way up. So for tomorrow, I'm expecting, if I'm lucky, this is what I'm expecting tomorrow for Amazon and also the entire market. I would think they would gap this up, and if they do gap it up, I'm expecting, if there's any initial strength, I'm expecting it to be fake. So you see, kind of like it won't move, and then it would just go down, and that's what I'm expecting. Maybe they'll hit it fast because in the option expiration, sometimes they'll smack it down. So playing the bias on the downside is it's the probably the best way to do it. I mean, yeah, I guess there's a chance they can recover it. But if they were to recover it, I think they would probably gap it down, and any initial weakness, then they can recover it. That seems to me like the more likely scenario, because they always kind of head fake you in the morning in the pre-market. So if it's a gap up, they'll show some false strength and then they'll bring it down. If it's a gap down, they'll try to lure in some shorts, and then just like here, they gap it down big. So I don't think it'll be a big gap down tomorrow. So this is probably not. It'd probably be more here if they were to gap it down. Just to say they gap it down to 3,000 and initial weakness, and then it'll go up, as opposed to having a heavy gap down all the way to this. That's too much of a. I don't think that's gonna happen. But look at that. They do purposely gap it down to the 61.8 just to show that it's weak and potentially people thinking it's gonna crash, and then they just shoot it right up. I mean, shot it right up. Not much strength. I mean, not much selling off at all. I mean, right after the gap down, it's just initial strength, and then they shot it up, retrace all the way past VWAP, which I didn't like, but that's just gonna be the case. And so tomorrow is more or less gonna look like this, I'm expecting, except it won't have this afternoon kind of thing. Eventually, I think whatever situation it goes, um, it'll go more or less the flush and or the push. Um, and it may just be, it may be like the, if it's the push, it's kind of like be the opposite of this if they do try to save the market. And the reason why they try to save it is because this this candle right now is a green candle. Right now above the 5-day moving average, a green candle above the 5-day moving average, and the aftermarket is already up 38. So look at that, they're already gapping it up. to potentially gapping up. So maybe that's a sign that they're gonna sell it off tomorrow. Let me look at that real quick. The extended hours. Yeah, they're moving it up, you see, in the aftermarket. So maybe in the pre-market, the aftermarket is different than the pre-market. We'll see what happens in the pre-market, whether they continue to gap it up. But I'm expecting the opposite. So if they gap it up, um, it's probably gonna have some sell-off tomorrow, which unfortunately would be a negative day. So if they do sell it off tomorrow, it will be a negative day. Um, this candle is gonna end up being, so this candle it'll be an initial gap up. Let me just use a red candle. So initial gap up, and so you have a gap up, and it'll be a red candle, something like that. With a maybe it'll be even like that, where it'll end the day down. So it'll end below 3,000 down here, which would make this a red candle down here. And if it makes it a red candle with a long wick, and that would be very bearish. So that's what the shorts are intending to do. They will essentially create a long wick, hoping this will be a bearish candle, and that would set up for next week for this to go down and touch this guy, and that'll be for the weekly, it'll go down, right? Um, or maybe it'll go up. Who knows? I mean, yeah, I guess it's an equal chance that it go up tomorrow, next week too. Um, yeah, it can go up because there is still support here. Although this candle with the long wick, that is a very bearish candle. So because it would be a very bearish candle on the weekly, it's more than likely that it will be a down candle for next week if this is the case where they gap it up and sell it, and so you have a complete sell off or end the day at the low. If the end of the day at the low here, it'll be lower than this candle, makes this a red candle with a long wick on the 20-day moving average. So that would set up pretty bearish situation for next week with the 20. Yeah, that looks like a very likely scenario. So maybe that's the way I play it tomorrow. Apple. Let's see. Apple looks right now it's at the 5-day moving average. So again, Apple will behave whatever the market will behave. They put it right at the 5-day moving average. The candle all the way, the wick all the way up to so it failed. The right here is the failure of the 100-day moving average. You can see right here, the 100-day moving average, it failed. So it's still a green candle, but it's below the 5-day moving average. And this candle is green, but it can turn red. The only way it would turn red if it ends down here. So if it ends down here for next week, then that would turn the candle red. Just like, I guess the same scenario, right? If they gap it up, let's just say they gap it up and it fails again, it fails the blue the 100-day moving average. So it fails the 100-day moving average, and then you have a complete sell-off. Geez, that would be a really big sell-off all the way down here where it's below that guy. That would set up a candle. I mean, that would set up a red candle down here. Geez, that would be very and then a long wick. Wow. And that would make it almost where's 100 at? Let me see where this is at. So this is 100, probably 111. Uh, yeah, actually, it would be very close to. That would be very close to the this guy. However, this guy, if this moves down, then this would flatten out. So then it'll be farther down. Right now it's up here because it's at 108. But if it's close to 100, then this moving average would go down to close to 100. So yeah, that looks like a possibility if they sell it off tomorrow. Tesla is the only one I think that looks fairly bullish right now. And the way Tesla behaves, this is a red candle, but it has a long tail. So let's see how they may want to end this down here to make it really bearish for next week. So tomorrow is actually a very important day because if it ends to if it gaps up, let's just say it gaps up, and again fails 400 and move all the way down below the 100-day moving average. So this 100-day moving average would be right here, and so the red candle would be here. Yeah, that would be very down to 350. Let me see where 350 is right here. Yeah, right here. So that would make this candle completely red, and that would be very bearish. So if it looks something like this, then it just looks very bearish for next week. And then that will have a magnet pretty much for 200, 300 for next week. Which would have a magnet, maybe not on Monday or Tuesday, whatever it will be. The point will be they would try to target 300 for next week. If so, tomorrow is really a important day. I mean, whether they can save it or if they reverse this tomorrow, if the shorts go out, tooth and nail, because they see the same thing I'm seeing, and the program sees the same thing I'm seeing. So if the shorts come out tooth and nail and just fight and give it everything they got and just sell this off tomorrow, man, it will set up a bad situation for next week because the candle would just look so bearish for Tesla, for Amazon, for the QQQ, for Apple. I mean, let's see what happens tomorrow, but it looks like it's gonna be a big fight tomorrow to get. Yeah, the same with the Qs. I mean, look at that. If they this right here down to 260, right here 260, the same situation for the Qs. I mean, if they kill this guy for tomorrow, head fake it, gap up. Let's just say gap up, little wick, failure of the wick, and a failing candle down to 160. That would set up this guy right here to be a failing candle. Almost to the 20-week moving average with a long wick. So now you got a long wick, and of course, this will move down a little bit further, but still be very negative. And then this line sets up for a pretty much a penetration of it for next week. Whether it be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, doesn't matter. But then this will set up for another candle, and wow, this candle right here next week is a crash candidate candle. If this happened this week, where it ends up red, so essentially tomorrow would set up the catalyst for a crash potential or a crash candidate, because I just can't imagine how they would just there would be so much fear in the market if this can't. I mean, all the programs would see this. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4 red weeks of candles. Yeah, man, any strength next week, like maybe Monday or Tuesday, where people see it green, boom, Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they can crash it next week and it'll end up so red. And essentially that would just, I mean, I can't imagine. Wow, that would look so bad. I mean, and the yellow 5-day moving average, I mean, it won't be able to catch up. Essentially, it'll just be like that because it won't have enough. There's too much imbalance for this to catch up. Although if it closes here, this will start getting really steep. And then when it gets really steep, then geez, it's gonna look bad. It's gonna be looking like this guy on COVID. I mean, where there's imbalance in the 5-week moving average, but it's really steep. Look how steep that gets all of a sudden. It gets really steep. So right now you got this. I mean, it's still kind of not. It's just gradual right now, kind of like at the beginning stage, but it can get steep really fast. So this yellow can get steep really fast, and yeah, man, I would hate to see that happen, but if the shorts come out tooth and nail tomorrow and fight with everything they got, it's gonna look so bearish for next week, and I just can't imagine how they can rescue it. The program sees it. Everything, I mean, everything is based on the programs, and if they see it being so bearish, I just don't see how they would rescue it. I mean, there's no way they can rescue it because all the money printing, all the feds, everything has been written. Um, and then once people see that their portfolio is down 5-10%, they're gonna start getting out, which would trigger more selling, and then more bad. You know, the news always follow the results. Once they get these red candles and negative days, then the news will start looking negative because they want to explain why it's down. Well, it's down because the programs are reacting to these technical candles and these technical trends, and then the news were trying to answer why it's down, but really is that the news is just following the results. So yeah, let's see what happened. These are important. Tomorrow is a really important day tomorrow, but they can rescue it. So I mean, I'm sure other long sees the same thing I'm seeing. I mean, they definitely rescue it today. Although the shorts did kind of manage to sell off in the afternoon. I mean, this little bounce. I was surprised yesterday that the shorts were able to just ride this down without much of a bounce. I mean, that was just amazing how that's just yeah. Where was the longs to come and try to prevent? I mean, I was just surprised that they didn't try to. I mean, there's no way it should have ended down here yesterday. It should have caught it somewhere and then bounced back up and be right here. So it'll be harder for the weekly candle to be so negative. But now that they set it up the way it is, I mean, a gap down, then they recover it. Then the shorts try again. Then they recover it. Uh, yeah, and it's a little bit late, in my opinion, but it's I guess it's never too late. They can still recover it. I mean, tomorrow definitely the situation for higher. So you can see right here, it is still a. I mean, in the in between trend or in the intraday trend. Let me use a different candle or different color. You do have high. Well, let me see. Geez, then you got lower low. I don't know what kind of freaking what is that? I don't know. But gee, I guess yeah. I mean, I guess overall it's higher high and higher low. So that set up a scenario if they gap it up tomorrow, which they will. So that it can set up for higher high, higher low. And eventually, if they get it here, then everything will be green again. This candle will be nice and green. Then it will be a chance for recovery to test this 5-week moving average. So let's see what happens if it is green tomorrow, if they're able to rescue it. So if they're able to rescue it, which I'm sure the longs would definitely want to do, otherwise it's gonna crash big. If they do rescue it, it gaps up, and then you got initial sell off, and then it'll be green. So this thing will go down and it'll touch that. So then that will be essentially, it'll be a green here, a green candle, nice and green, which sets up a potential to hit the yellow line. So this yellow line would go, it'll go kind of flatten it out a little bit, and then that would set up a green candle for next week. And then people can breathe a sign of relief because they say, well, okay, whew, you know, green candle on the weekly looks nice, and retesting the 5-week average. And probably when they breathe a sign of relief, it's just gonna crash. I mean, most likely it's gonna crash, whether they save it next week or whatever. Yeah, the scenario for a crash is just there because the damage is done all because of this guy. Just run up right here, just causes so many people that just run in and in and in, and it just inflated. It just caused a bubble, and then now you got this sell off right here, and this is just a top candle. And this top candle is now, it get inserted into the computer programs. The program sees it. So any weakness, they see this top. This is now a constant in their programs, and they go, oh, this top candle. And the further it gets from it, and there's Fibonacci that lines up. So it just looks like a crash is coming, unless I just don't see how they would save them. I mean, I guess they can do it. Who knows? Let's see what happens. But right now, because of this stupid imbalance, they just set up a situation where you got a top candle, and now this top candle is inside the program until I guess it goes above it. And once it goes above it, then this invalidates this as a top candle, and now then the programs won't have it, and then it'll go up more. But as for now, this is now inside the program, so every programs are written, and they see this candle as a top candle, and that just makes it negative if it's below it. So the new trend, once you have a top candle, there's a dividing line. So nothing in the past really matter except it's the history of the candles. And now this top candle sets up a new trend. So it can just be at this point. So, yeah.